It was a quiet night. The wind outside moved slowly through the trees, and the soft silver light of the moon filled the small bedroom. A young boy named Aram lay on his bed, wide awake. His eyes kept looking at the window, where the full moon shone like a giant lantern in the sky. He turned to his grandfather, who was sitting on the chair near the bed, holding a cup of tea. The boy asked in a soft, curious voice, "Grandfather, is the moon only a big rock in the sky?" The old man looked at him carefully. For a moment, he said nothing. His wrinkled face carried a strange expression, half smile and half secret. Then, he slowly put down his cup. "What if I told you," the grandfather whispered, "that the moon is not what it seems? What if the moon is a ship?" Aram's eyes grew wide. "A ship?" he asked. "Yes," the grandfather replied, leaning closer. "Not just any ship. A giant ship, an alien ship." The boy gasped, and suddenly the room felt colder. Outside, the moonlight seemed sharper, almost as if the moon itself was listening. The grandfather spoke again, his voice low and serious. "You see, long ago, scientists noticed something strange about the moon. It is too perfect, too unusual. Did you know, Aram, that the moon always shows the same face to us? The other side, the far side, is forever hidden from Earth, almost like someone does not want us to see what is there." The boy pulled his blanket tighter. His heartbeat was fast, but he wanted to hear more. The grandfather continued, "And there is more. When meteors hit the moon, scientists expected big, deep craters. But instead, they found something strange. The craters were shallow, as if there was something hard underneath the surface, something that stopped the rocks from going deeper. Some even said the moon is hollow." Aram whispered, "Hollow? Like empty inside?" "Yes," said the old man. "Empty or full of something else." Some scientists reported that when the Apollo mission sent signals and dropped objects on the moon, it rang like a bell. Imagine that. A bell in space. Does a normal rock ring like a bell? No, but a metal shell does. The boy's eyes turned again toward the window. The moon looked so normal, so silent, but now it felt strange. Almost alive. The grandfather leaned back in his chair. His voice dropped even lower, like he was telling a secret that only the two of them should know. "Aram, have you ever heard the old stories? The legends from long ago? Some say the Earth once had no moon at all. Our ancestors told tales that the moon was brought here, placed in the sky. By whom they never said. But think, my child, if the moon was placed here, it means someone wanted it here." Aram's small hands clutched the blanket tighter. Who wanted it here? The old man's eyes glimmered in the moonlight. "Aliens, perhaps a race much older than us. Maybe they came to watch us. Maybe they came to protect us, or maybe they came for reasons we cannot understand." The boy was silent. The ticking of the clock on the wall grew louder. Outside, an owl cried, breaking the stillness of the night. "But grandfather," Aram finally said, "how do we know this is true? What if it's just a story?" The old man nodded slowly. "Maybe it is just a story. But answer me this. Why does NASA keep so many secrets about the moon? Why did some astronauts, after their missions, speak in strange ways about lights and shadows they saw? Why did they look nervous when people asked too many questions?" He leaned forward. "Because maybe they saw something up there. Maybe they saw proof that the moon is not just a rock. Maybe they saw doors, tunnels, or lights inside. Maybe they even saw who lives there." The boy's breathing became quick. His eyes stayed fixed on the bright, shining moon. The grandfather smiled softly now. "Do not be afraid, Aram. The moon has been there for thousands of years. If it is truly a ship, it has been watching silently, watching us grow, watching us live, but always watching." The boy whispered, "So, every night, it is looking at us?" The old man nodded. "Yes, and maybe, Aram, when you look at the moon, something inside looks back at you." The room fell into silence. The boy could not take his eyes away from the window. The moon was big and bright, but now it looked different. It was no longer just a soft night light. It was a secret, a mystery, and maybe a hidden ship floating above the Earth. As the boy closed his eyes, he felt both fear and wonder. His grandfather's words echoed in his head. What if the moon is not a rock at all? What if it is a ship? And somewhere, far away, the moon shone brighter, as if it knew the boy was thinking about it. The night grew deeper. The boy Aram lay in his bed, but sleep refused to come. His grandfather's strange story echoed in his mind. What if the moon is not a rock at all? What if it is a ship? Every time he blinked, he saw the glowing white circle in the sky, watching silently like a giant eye. The boy turned to his grandfather again. His voice trembled with curiosity. Grandfather, why is the moon so strange? Why do people think it is different from other moons? The old man sighed softly, as if he had been waiting for this question. He leaned forward, resting his hands on his knees, and began to explain. The moon, Aram, he said, is not like any other moon in the solar system. Most moons are small compared to the planets they orbit, but our moon is huge, almost 1/4 the size of Earth. No other planet has a moon this big compared to itself. Scientists say it is unnatural. The boy's eyes grew wide. And natural? What do you mean? The grandfather nodded slowly. Yes, think about it. If it were a simple rock captured by Earth's gravity, its orbit should be strange or tilted. But no, our moon is perfectly round in its path. It moves with almost impossible balance. Some scientists once said it is as if the moon was carefully placed there. Aram felt a chill. The idea of someone placing the moon made his small heart beat faster. The grandfather continued, Do you know, my child, that the moon always shows the same face to Earth? Every night, no matter where you are, you see the same side. The other half, the far side, remains hidden forever. We only saw it when spacecraft took pictures. Why does it hide? Why does it never turn? Some people believe it is by design. The boy whispered, like, someone wants to keep secrets there? The old man's eyes glimmered. Exactly. Imagine, Aram, a giant ship with its control room hidden on the far side. A place no human eyes can see from Earth, safe, silent, always watching. Aram shivered and pulled his blanket tighter. The old man leaned back, his voice dropping lower. But that is not all. When astronauts visited the moon, they found something very unusual. The surface is covered with dust and rock, yes, but underneath, the crust is thin in some places. Too thin, and below that, it seems almost metallic, strong, as if the moon has an outer shell. Aram blinked. Like armor? Yes, said the grandfather. Armor, protection, like the skin of a ship. The boy's breath caught in his throat. He looked again at the bright white moon outside his window. Suddenly it didn't look soft or gentle anymore. It looked hard, cold, dangerous. The grandfather's voice grew mysterious. And then there are the sounds. When Apollo 12 and 13 missions hit the moon with equipment, the moon rang. For almost an hour, it rang like a giant bell. Do rocks ring like that, Aram? The boy shook his head quickly. No, grandfather, rocks don't ring. The old man nodded. Exactly. Rocks do not ring. But hollow objects do. Empty things. Metallic things. Imagine a bell the size of the moon. What does that mean? What is inside it? Aram swallowed hard. His little hands clenched his blanket. Maybe something is hidden there? The grandfather's face was serious now. His voice dropped even lower, like he was afraid someone outside might hear. Yes, Aram, something may be hidden there. The moon is too perfect, too mysterious. And then there are the lights. Astronauts and even people on Earth have seen strange flashes of light on the surface. Some call them moonquakes, but others believe they are something else. Perhaps machines. Perhaps openings. Perhaps signals. The boy's eyes grew wider and wider. He asked in a whisper, Signals? From who? The old man looked at him, his eyes sharp as steel. That, my child, is the question. Who built the moon? Who placed it there? And who, if anyone, still lives inside it? The boy turned toward the window again. The moon hung in the sky, glowing beautifully, but now it looked like a mask. A mask that covered something ancient, powerful, and secret. He asked softly, almost afraid of the answer. Do you think they are still there, grandfather? The ones who made it? The old man gave a slow smile. Maybe, maybe not. But remember this, Arham, the moon controls our tides, our seasons, even the balance of the earth. Without it, life would be chaos. If it is truly a ship, then whoever made it also controls our world. The boy's heart raced. He felt a mix of fear and wonder. The old man leaned closer and whispered his final words for the night. Never forget, Arham, the moon is not just a pretty light in the sky. It is the greatest mystery above us. A mystery older than history itself. And maybe, just maybe, it is watching us even now. The boy's eyes stayed glued to the window. The moonlight touched his face, cold and silver. He could not look away. For the first time, the moon did not feel like a friend. It felt like a secret, and in the silence of the night, he thought he saw it shine brighter like a watchful eye, glowing in the dark. The night outside grew colder, but the room stayed warm with a strange silence. Arham lay in bed, still listening to his grandfather's words. He wanted to believe the moon was just a rock, but every detail made him doubt. The boy whispered again, "Grandfather, when did people first begin to think the moon is not normal?" The old man leaned back in his chair, his face half lit by the silver glow of moonlight. His voice carried both weight and warning. "Arham, the first real suspicion began with the astronauts. When men first stepped on the moon, they expected silence, emptiness, and nothing unusual. But what they found was far more mysterious." The boy sat up slightly, his eyes wide. "What did they find?" The old man's gaze turned sharp. They reported strange lights, glowing orbs moving across the surface, sometimes red, sometimes white. These lights were not meteors or reflections. They seemed alive. They seemed to move with purpose. Arham's mouth fell open. "Lights like ships?" The grandfather nodded slowly. "Perhaps, but they did not only see lights. Some astronauts even felt, watched. Imagine walking on that silent, empty land, and yet feeling eyes on your back. Shadows in the distance that vanished when you looked closer. A sound in the radio that was not an echo. A silence that was too heavy." The boy shivered. He could almost picture the endless gray dust, the black sky above, and the feeling that someone unseen was standing just beyond the horizon. The grandfather's voice grew deeper. "Some say, Arham, that during the Apollo 11 mission, the astronauts reported strange objects following them, shapes like flying discs, hovering at the edge of their vision. NASA did not broadcast everything live. They cut some transmissions. Later, whispers spread that the astronauts had seen alien craft." Arham's heart thumped fast. "So aliens were already there? On the moon?" The old man raised a finger. "No one knows. Maybe the ships were scouts. Maybe they were protectors, or maybe they were guards." The boy tilted his head. "Guards? Guards of what?" The grandfather's eyes narrowed. "Guards of the moon's secret. If the moon is a ship, then it must be protected. And if it holds something inside, something powerful, then those who build it would never leave it undefended." The clock ticked loudly on the wall. Arham could feel the beat of his own heart. The moon outside suddenly looked less like a quiet light and more like a giant fortress, floating in the sky. He whispered, "But grandfather, did anyone ever hear sounds from the moon?" The old man nodded slowly. "Yes, Arham. Radio operators on Earth once picked up signals, strange transmissions from the direction of the moon. They were not random static. They had patterns, like a language. No one could explain them. Some believed they were machine signals. Others believed they were messages, waiting for someone who could understand." The boy clutched his blanket tighter. "Messages? From the moon?" "Yes," said the old man, his eyes shining. "And not just once. There were times when people saw flashes on the far side of the moon's strange bursts of light, as if something inside had turned on for a moment and then went dark again." Arham swallowed hard. His mind filled with images of giant engines hidden deep inside the moon. Engines that could wake at any time. The old man leaned forward now, lowering his voice to a near whisper. "Do you know, Arham, that even ancient people suspected the moon was unnatural? They told stories of gods and watchers who came from the sky. Some even called the moon the eye in the night. They said it was placed there to keep watch over Earth. Think about it. Maybe those old myths were not just fantasy. Maybe they were warnings. The boy's lips trembled. So, the moon has been spying on us. For thousands of years? The grandfather slowly nodded. Perhaps. Or perhaps it is more than spying. Perhaps it is waiting. Waiting for the right time. Or waiting for us to discover its truth. The boy felt a shiver run down his spine. The thought of the moon as a living machine, a giant alien ship, made his small hands shake. He pulled the blanket to his chin and asked in a low, scared voice, "Grandfather, what if one day it wakes up?" The old man gave a long pause before answering. His eyes turned toward the window, staring at the shining full moon as if it were an old enemy. "If it wakes up, Aram," he said quietly, "then everything we know will change. Our world will no longer belong to us. It will belong to whoever controls that ship." The boy froze. His heart pounded like a drum. He turned his eyes toward the glowing moon outside and could not look away. It seemed bigger, brighter, and colder than before. The grandfather leaned back, his face shadowed in the dim light. His voice turned softer, but the weight of his words pressed heavily on the boy's chest. "Remember, my child." The first suspicion began not with scientists, but with those who looked closely and saw too much. Astronauts, radio operators, ancient storytellers. They all whispered the same thing. The moon is not what it seems. Aram stayed silent. The room was filled with the ticking clock, the soft wind outside, and the strange glow of the moon. For the first time, the boy felt that the moon was not simply watching, it was listening. The night stretched on, and Aram's little room was filled only with the ticking of the clock and the silver glow of the moon. The boy sat upright now, too restless to lie down. His grandfather's words had shaken him. The thought that the moon might be more than a rock, more than even a planet satellite, was too strange to forget. He looked at his grandfather and asked, "But grandfather, how do we really know the moon is not natural? Maybe people just imagine things." The old man gave a slow smile, one that carried both patience and sadness. "Ah, Aram, you are right to ask. But let me tell you something even stranger. Long before scientists, long before astronauts, even before books were written, people already spoke about the moon being unnatural. They called it a visitor." The boy frowned. "A visitor?" "Yes," the grandfather said softly. "A visitor in the sky. Ancient legends from Africa, Asia, and even the Americas say that once the earth had no moon. The night was dark, the tides were calm. Then one day, the moon appeared. It was placed there." Aram's eyes widened. "Placed by who?" The old man's voice lowered to a whisper. "By the ones who came from the stars. The ancients said they saw bright chariots in the sky, lights that descended like fire. And after that, the moon came. Some called it a gift, some called it a prison, and some feared it was a watchtower made to keep humans under control." The boy's heart thumped. His small voice cracked with fear. "So aliens brought the moon?" The grandfather leaned closer. His face was half in shadow, half in silver light. "That is what the stories say. Imagine, Aram, imagine a giant ship, carved and disguised as a glowing rock, parked above the earth to stay forever, watching, waiting, controlling the tides, controlling the seasons, even controlling the rhythm of life itself. Do you think that is an accident?" The boy hugged his blanket tighter, his little eyes darting toward the window. The moon looked so calm, but now he wondered if behind its white face were giant engines, hidden chambers, and eyes watching from the darkness. The grandfather's tone grew darker. "But here's the part that will chill your bones, Aram. The ancients also believed the moon was not empty. They said it was inhabited, that inside it lived the Watchers, the ones who came before humans. Silent beings who looked down on Earth as if it were their garden. And humans were their crop," Aram gasped. His throat went dry. "Watchers, what do they do?" The old man's eyes narrowed. "They observe, they measure, and some say they guide. Wars, empires, inventions, disasters, all under the same silent eye of the moon. If the moon is a ship, Aram, then its crew is patient. They wait centuries. They wait until the right time." The boy's small hands trembled. He could almost feel invisible eyes staring at him through the window. The old man leaned back in his chair, his voice becoming slow and heavy. And even modern scientists, men of logic, found strange proof. They admitted the moon's orbit is too perfect, too round, and like any other. Some even dared to write that the moon might be an artificial satellite, not built by nature, but built by intelligence. Aram whispered, "But why? Why would they do that?" The grandfather tapped the side of his cup. "That is the greatest question. Perhaps to watch us. Perhaps to control Earth itself. Or perhaps, because the moon is not just a base. It could be a vault, a prison, a storage of things too dangerous to leave drifting in space." The boy's skin prickled. A prison? For what? The grandfather gave a strange smile. For something, or for someone. The boy fell silent. The thought of an alien prison floating above Earth made his head spin. What if the glowing moon was not a guardian, but a cage? What if something inside was waiting to be freed? His grandfather's voice cut through his thoughts. "Remember, Arham, the truth is always hidden. NASA, governments, scientists, they do not tell us everything. Do you know why? Because the truth would terrify the world. If people knew the moon was a ship, society would panic. Faith would collapse. The world would change in one night." The boy's eyes were wide with fear. "So, they hide it, yes," said the grandfather. "They hide it behind smiles and lies. They say the moon is only rock and dust. But behind closed doors, they know more. They keep the secrets. And we are left with legends, whispers, and shadows." The clock ticked louder, as if marking each heartbeat in the room. Outside, the moon looked brighter, almost glowing with a cold intelligence. Aram finally spoke in a trembling voice. "Grandfather, if the moon is a ship, who is flying it?" The old man's lips curled into a mysterious smile. He leaned forward, so close that his whisper sounded like a secret being passed across centuries. "Perhaps no one flies it now. Perhaps its crew is sleeping. Or perhaps, Arham, they are awake, watching us every night, waiting for the day they choose to return." The boy froze. He could feel goosebumps rise all over his skin. His eyes locked on the window, where the moon hung large and silent. For the first time in his life, he wished he could close the curtains and never look at it again. But he could not look away. The night outside was deep and still, but inside the room, Aram's mind was racing faster than ever. His grandfather's words had changed the way he looked at the moon forever. He pulled his blanket close and whispered again, "Grandfather, if the moon is not natural, then who made it? Who could build something so big?" The old man's eyes turned toward the shining circle in the sky. His voice was low, calm, but filled with weight. Arham, now you are asking the question scientists have feared for years. If the moon is a ship, then someone had to build it. Someone greater than us. Someone older than us. Someone not from Earth." The boy's eyes widened. "Aliens?" The grandfather nodded slowly. "Yes, aliens, and not the kind from bedtime stories with little green faces. These would be ancient builders, a race so powerful they could move planets. Imagine, Arham, a species so advanced they could hollow out a world, wrap it in stone, and place it carefully in orbit. That is not magic. That is technology so great, it looks like magic to us." Arham swallowed hard. He could barely imagine it. The thought of beings that strong made him shiver. The grandfather leaned closer. "Do you know why some call it the alien theory? Because the moon does things that no natural rock should do. For example, its craters are all wrong. Meteor impacts on the moon should make deep holes, but most craters are shallow like dents on metal. It is as if there is a hard shell underneath, something protecting the inside." Arham whispered. "Like armor?" "Yes," the old man said. "Like armor. And what needs armor? Machines, ships, not simple rocks." The boy stared at the moon outside the window. Its silver light touched the room like a cold hand. He whispered softly, "So it is not protecting us. It is protecting itself." The grandfather nodded. "Perhaps. And there is more. The moon controls Earth in many ways. Its pull controls the tides. Without it, oceans would not rise and fall. Its presence keeps the Earth's axis steady. Without it, seasons would spin wildly. Even life itself depends on it. Some scientists say without the moon, humans would never have survived. Does that sound like chance to you, Arham? The boy shook his head slowly. No, it sounds planned. The old man's eyes glimmered. Exactly, planned, as if someone placed the moon here not just to watch us, but to control our planet, to shape our future, to make sure Earth became the way it is today. Arham felt his chest tighten. But grandfather, if aliens made it, are they still inside? The old man gave a heavy breath. That is the question no one dares to answer. Some say the aliens left long ago, leaving their machine behind like a watchtower. Others believe they never left, that they still live inside, hidden in the far side where no human can see, silent, waiting. The boy felt goosebumps run across his arms. Waiting for what? The grandfather leaned forward, his voice a whisper that almost disappeared in the quiet room. For the right time, maybe for us to grow enough to contact them, or maybe for a signal, a command. And when that moment comes, the moon will not be silent anymore. The boy's throat went dry. He asked, but did anyone ever see proof of this? The grandfather's lips curled into a half smile. Ah, there are stories. Astronauts spoke of strange towers and domes on the far side of the moon. Photos exist, though most were hidden away. Some show structures that do not look natural. Walls, spires, machines, of course. Officials said it was just shadows, tricks of light. But can shadows make perfect shapes? Can tricks of light make a tower that stretches hundreds of meters? Arm's heart pounded. So there really are buildings? The old man nodded slowly. Perhaps. And if there are buildings, then there must be builders. The boy pulled the blanket up to his chin, his eyes never leaving the moon outside the window. He could almost imagine huge dark doors on its hidden side, opening to reveal shining halls filled with alien machines. The grandfather's voice broke the silence again. Some say the aliens inside the moon are not just watching us. They are influencing us. Strange signals from the moon sometimes interfere with Earth's machines. People behave differently during full moons. Even animals change. Do you think that is an accident? Aram shivered. So? They control us? Not directly, the old man whispered. But maybe they push, gently, like a hand guiding a child. Wars, discoveries, disasters. Maybe all of it under the influence of the moon. The boy looked at his grandfather with wide, frightened eyes. Grandfather, what if one day they come out? What if they reveal themselves? The old man's eyes grew dark and serious. He pointed to the glowing circle outside the window. If that day comes, Aram, then the Earth will learn the truth. We are not alone. We never were. And the moon, the gentle light we thought was ours, will show its true face as a ship, a base, a machine that belongs not to us, but to them. The boy could not speak. His heart beat fast, his breath shallow. The moon outside looked brighter, sharper, more alive. For the first time, he wished he could hide from its light, but the moon hung silently in the sky, cold and eternal, watching, always watching. The room was silent, but Aram could hear his own heart beating. The more his grandfather spoke, the heavier the air became. The boy could not take his eyes off the silver moon shining through the window dot at last. He whispered, Grandfather, if the moon is a ship, and if aliens made it, then where are they now? Are they gone forever? The old man's expression turned serious, almost grim. His voice dropped low, like he was afraid of being overheard. Aram, what if I told you they never left? The boy froze. His small hands gripped the blanket so tight his knuckles turned white. Never left? He whispered. The grandfather nodded. Yes, some believe the moon is still occupied. That deep inside, far beneath the dust and stone, there are chambers, cities, engines. Rooms filled with machines so old and powerful, they could run for thousands of years without stopping. And maybe the ones who build it are still there. Not dead, not gone, but awake, watching, always watching. Aram's eyes went wide. He looked quickly at the window again. The moon's silver glow felt different now. It was no longer just lights, it was a spotlight pointing straight at him. The grandfather leaned closer, his voice barely above a whisper. Some astronauts reported strange things on the far side of the moon. towers, domes, even shadows moving across the surface. But here's the part that most people do not know. Some astronauts said they were warned. Aram blinked. Warned by who? The old man's face darkened. By the ones who live there. Voices on the radio told them not to come back. Lights followed them. And after Apollo missions, humans never returned to the moon. Have you ever wondered why, Arham? Why we went 6 times and then stopped? The boy's mouth went dry. Because the aliens told us to stay away? The grandfather nodded slowly. Exactly. As if the moon is theirs and we are trespassers. The boy's breathing quickened. He felt a chill run down his arms. But grandfather, why would they keep the moon here? Why not fly away? The old man gave a strange smile. Because maybe, Aram, the moon is not just a ship. Maybe it is a prison, or a station, or even a machine with a purpose. What if the moon has been guiding Earth all along? Guiding our tides, our seasons, even our minds? What if the aliens do not need to come out? Because their machine already controls us? Arham swallowed hard. Controls us? Yes, whispered the grandfather. Think about it. People act differently during the full moon. Strange accidents happen. Tempers rise. Animals behave wildly. Why the moon? What if that is not just gravity? What if it is programming? The boy's chest tightened. He could almost feel invisible strings pulling at the earth. Strings connected to the glowing ship above. The grandfather leaned back, his voice dark. And there's one more thing, Arham, something even scarier. What if the moon is not just watching us, but protecting something else? A secret locked inside. Arham tilted his head, his voice trembling. Protecting. What? The old man's eyes flickered. Something powerful. Maybe a weapon. Maybe knowledge, or maybe something alive. What if the moon is not empty, but full of sleeping creatures? Beings waiting for the day they are needed again. The boy gasped. His heart raced. He pictured giant chambers deep inside the moon, filled with dark pods glowing faintly. Each one holding a figure that was not human, silent, still, waiting. The old man's voice grew colder. Do you know the scariest part, Arham? Sometimes, signals still come from the moon. Scientists call them strange bursts. But maybe they are not bursts at all. Maybe they are whispers, messages between the moon and something far away. A call or warning. The boy's lips trembled. A warning to who? The grandfather stared straight at the moon outside. His eyes were sharp, as if he were staring into its very heart. Maybe. To the rest of their kind. Maybe the moon is not just a ship. Maybe it is a beacon. A lighthouse in space, calling its masters back home. Arm's breath caught in his throat. So, the aliens could come back? The old man's voice turned like ice. Yes, Arm, and when they come back, they will not ask permission. The moon has been waiting for them, watching us until the day they return to claim what they left behind. The boy's small body shook under his blanket. His eyes filled with fear as he stared at the glowing moon. He whispered, so every night, when I see the moon, they are seeing me too? The grandfather nodded slowly. Yes, my child. Every night, every moment. The moon is not just a rock. It is a window, and someone on the other side is always looking through it. The boy's heartbeat thundered in his ears. The silver light outside seemed sharper, brighter, more alive. He wanted to look away, but he couldn't. The moon's glow held him like a spell. The old man's final words sank deep into his heart. Remember this, Arham. The greatest twist of all is not that the moon might be a ship. It is that the ship is not empty. And maybe it has never been. The room was still. The only sound was the faint tick-tick of the old clock on the wall. The boy, Arham, lay frozen in his bed, his blanket pulled up to his chin. His wide eyes were fixed on the window, where the moon hung heavy in the night sky. Bright and calm, yet no longer innocent. His grandfather's words echoed in his ears. The ship is not empty, and maybe it has never been. The boy's throat felt dry. He whispered softly, almost afraid the moon would hear, Grandfather, what if they come back? What if one day the ship wakes up? The old man looked at him, his face hidden in half shadow, his voice deep and heavy. Then, Arham, The world will never be the same again. We will learn the truth we have been blind to for centuries. That we are not alone. That we never were. And that our little blue planet was never really ours to begin with. The boy swallowed hard. His small fingers trembled as they gripped the blanket. But why don't they show themselves now? Why hide? The grandfather gave a slow smile. But it was not a comforting smile. It was the kind that carries secrets too dark to share. Because, my child, he whispered, the hunters do not speak until the trap is ready. The moon may not be sleeping, it may be waiting, watching, preparing, and perhaps it has already begun. Aram's breath caught in his chest. Already begun? What do you mean? The old man leaned closer, lowering his voice as though every word was dangerous. Haven't you noticed? Strange lights in the sky, disappearing signals, astronauts who spoke too much, and then went silent. Strange towers on the far side of the moon that NASA will never admit. Maybe all of these are signs. Maybe the ship is slowly awakening. Aram felt his chest grow tight. He turned his face toward the moon, but now he wished he hadn't. Its glow filled the window, silver and strong, almost like a giant spotlight shining directly into his room. Grandfather, he whispered, what if it is looking at us right now? The old man's eyes glimmered in the dim light. It is, Aram. It always has been. Every night you see the moon, remember this someone inside it may be looking back at you. The boy felt his skin prickle. The thought of unseen eyes staring at him from above made him want to hide under the blanket forever. But he could not move. The moonlight held him. The grandfather leaned back, his voice dark and slow. Do you know the scariest truth of all? We humans always think we are the masters of Earth. But what if we are not? What if Earth is part of something bigger? What if the moon is the lock? And one day, someone will turn the key? The boy trembled. The key? To what? The old man did not answer at once. His eyes stayed fixed on the glowing circle in the sky. His silence felt heavier than words. Finally, he spoke in a voice so low it almost disappeared into the night, to whatever is inside. And when that key is turned, Aram, the world will wake up to something far older and far stronger than us. The boy closed his eyes tightly, but even in the dark, he could still see the moon in his mind. It was no longer just a gentle night light. It was a mask, hiding something enormous and secret. Grandfather, he whispered, will they hurt us? The old man placed a hand gently on the boy's shoulder. No one knows. Maybe they will come as teachers, maybe as rulers, or maybe as conquerors. But one thing is certain, Aram, when they come, the world will change forever. The boy's heartbeat thudded in his ears. He wanted to believe his grandfather was wrong, that this was only a story. But deep inside, he felt the truth pressing on him. The old man stood up slowly, his shadow long in the moonlight. He walked to the window and pulled the curtain half closed. Then he turned to the boy with a strange, almost sorrowful look. Sleep now, Aram, he said softly. But remember what I told you. Each time you look at the moon, notice it may not just be shining. It may be watching, waiting, preparing. The boy lay back, but sleep did not come. His young mind was too full of fear, too full of wonder. His eyes, though heavy, kept drifting back to the silver glow seeping through the edge of the curtain. The moon was there, silent but eternal, watching Dot, and as the boy finally began to drift into uneasy dreams, a single question echoed inside his heart. Is the moon really just a rock? Or is it an alien ship, waiting to wake up? The clock ticked. The room was still. And outside, the moon shone brighter than ever, its pale light spilling into the darkness, like the unblinking eye of something ancient and alive.